The Daily Raz Show with Jack Wilson.
We are now. Welcome to the show. This is a Daily Raz Show. I'm Jack Wilson, and glad to have you with us. So I watch PBS frequently. They have a lot of really cool things on there. I watch the cooking shows, America's Test Kitchen, the creative cooking shows, and the documentaries that they have. I really enjoy those. Ken Burns, in particular, is one of them. But what I watched the other day was and I'd seen it before, but my wife had not seen it. So we have PBS Passport, and I had mentioned it to her. So we brought it up on Passport, and what it is the Rick Steves. It's I think about an hour documentary, something like that, on. You have to excuse me. I should learn this by now and know by now not to eat before I do a show. I mean, it's very difficult. It messes up my sinuses and gagging and everything. So I'll try not to do that. But getting back to the Passport program on fascism in Europe. Rick Steves did this. And for any of you that are familiar with Rick Steves, I mean, it sounds pretty crazy because he typically does travel shows. But he explained this one time that he wanted to do this on fascism in Europe and how it began, how it evolved, basically started. And we watched the whole program. Now, I'd seen bits and pieces of it, but we watched the whole program. And gosh, it was really interesting because it started with where fascism really started was in Italy, with right after World War I. Mussolini started it. Basically, Mussolini started it in the 30s. Hitler copied him. He didn't have any unique idea. He copied what Mussolini was doing. So that's where it started. And we all know what happened. Now, if you really want to know the details on it, go watch the Rick Steves program on fascism in Europe. It's very interesting. And, a lot of people don't know what fascism is, or authoritarianism, or autocracies, or totalitarianism. I mean, these are subjects that we just don't normally get involved with. But fascism is something that's unique because it happens slowly. It kind of evolves. It's not like somebody goes in and conquers a country and boom, they've got fascism. Usually what happens, there are things in place that allow this to happen. And so what is it? I guess one of the questions is, can it happen in the U.S.? And is it happening? Is it actually happening now, before our eyes? Well, there's some thoughts on that. But so first of all, what is fascism? Fascism is it's far right, and it's authoritarian. I'm going to be reading from notes here. It's extreme nationalism. So what is nationalism? Well, we see that when people, well, for example, Hitler, he wanted everyone out of his country except true Germans. So extreme nationalism could be, we want everyone out of the United States except European whites. That sounds pretty crazy, but that's kind of what it would be. If you watch Gangs of New York, back in that day, they considered themselves natives, and they didn't want Irishmen coming in, and et cetera, et cetera. That's nationalism. So with fascism, it's extreme nationalism, okay? And it does involve dictatorial rule. You have someone that's making decisions for you and for us, for everybody. One person makes that decision. That seems a little familiar with what kind of is going on right now. Free elections and individual rights are rejected. Those things are just rejected. If we can see now what's happening with elections, one of the first thing is they delegitimize elections. And doesn't that sound familiar? And, you have to watch this very closely. So much time, they still are trying to delegitimize fair elections. Individual rights are being pushed aside. Militarism, they show the military strength in the population. Now, we can see that happening when, with the things that are happening with ICE. We can see when the National Guard is put in cities, and this is not martial law. Guard units are being put in cities, and to make it look like law and order is being maintained, disregarding the actual police force for those cities. They're bringing in military to replace the police actions in the cities and calling it law and order. That's one of the examples of fascism. Now, again, these are just little small pieces, one by one, that happen over time. It doesn't happen in a week. It doesn't happen in a month, maybe not a year. They control the media and education. Let's start with education. Do we see public schools closing all over the country and actually being torn down? Public schools being torn down, that's the craziest thing. They're being replaced by private charter schools. Now, those schools are getting funding from the state. They get the same funds that private or that public education got. The problem is, they're drawing students, they're drawing that student base out of public education, and with that, taking money out of public education. And then finally, the result is they tear down the schools. There are not enough students to go to the public schools. So I guess the question is, what are they teaching in these charter schools? I don't know. I don't have any children going to them. But I know I had a public school education, and it was fantastic. And at that time, the United States was the premier. I mean, we were held up to the rest of the world for our education system. Well, so education is being taken over. They're even going into colleges and ridiculing colleges for their curriculum about what they're teaching. They're wanting a particular curriculum taught in colleges. This has never happened, never happened. Our education system in this country is the best in the world. And then the media, controlling the media. We all know that every time we turn around, we hear the news is fake news. It's not real. So it's a constant ridicule of the news media that it's not accurate, it's fake, it's not real. And we know that's not the truth. But that's one of the items in the playbook is to control the media and education. So I'll repeat that, fascism started after World War I and went through Italy and then Germany, and then Franco in Spain also took up with it. He was able to continue his dictatorship a little longer than these other guys until he was finally replaced. And it's, how did all of this happen in Europe? Well, one of the things was democracies were really very new in Europe. Europe was basically controlled for centuries by monarchs, kings and queens and princes and whatever. There was no democracy. So democracy, as that we understand it to be, actually was kind of new in Europe. And they struggled. They had a lot of problems with it. They always had rulers, and I don't think people, in Europe really understood democracy and what it was. I think they had some difficulty with it, making decisions. When you have a democracy, you have to be involved in the decision-making process, and I think that was kind of all new to them. So anyway, that's how, in my opinion, that these people became powerful. When monarchs were gone away, it left a vacuum of power, and they took it. Now, there's also many other reasons, because after World War I, the reparations that were demanded of Germany and Italy, I mean, they were so extreme that I guess if you were in those countries, you'd be mad too. I mean, they really had no chance of ever paying off these war debts. Now, did they start them? Yes, they did. However, it ended up, because the reparations that were demanded by them led to, and I'm not getting into history lessons here, but it led to what created the monster of World War II, when these people wanted someone to blame. And the Allies and the winners, I guess, of World War I, these were the people that they blamed. And so that was kind of the thrust of what started and what got off on World War II, and basically fascism, what really created the monster of fascism. And of course, millions died because of it. But how does that happen? You can see examples of how it starts. One of them is singling out groups of people to blame for different circumstances. It could be for anything, but they find, I'm talking about the leaders now, they find people to blame for particular circumstances, and then everybody jumps on board of that. You have to be able to recognize these things. You can't let these go by. You have to recognize when they're blaming a people, a group of people, for something. And then what that does is it leads to promoting nationalism. Now the slogan, "Make America Great Again." Well, first of all, Donald Trump did not invent that. You've got to go back to earlier. I think it was Reagan that actually started that in his slogan. So Trump didn't invent it, but he sure has got mileage out of it. America always has been great. It's the place that everybody wants to come to. I mean, there must be a reason for that. But what they do is they promote nationalism and that all of these groups of people don't belong here. Well, guess what? You need to go back and also to PBS and look at the documentary that Ken Burns, I think, just finished on the Statue of Liberty and why all of these people came here. They came from other places in the world, and mostly, I think, out of Europe. It was bad over there. I mean, we're talking bad in the 1800s when people were coming to America through Ellis Island. That was the benefit of America. The Statue of Liberty and what it represented to these people brought immigrants to America, and these immigrants built the country. They built the United States. They built the country with their backs. The railroads, the mines, the coal fields, they did it. It wasn't these people that want to promote nationalism, okay? So this is another thing. You have to go back and look at where the country really started in the late 1800s and early 1900s when the United States became a real powerhouse with all of the resources that we had in front of us, but we had no one to make anything from them. And that's where the immigrants came in, okay? So, getting back to how to recognize fascism and what it is when they began using military in the civilian population. We're seeing that every day, and the news media has been trying to inform people about it, trying to bring it to their attention. And what ICE is doing, I mean, every day they are becoming more powerful in their methods and their tools that they're able to use. They're recruiting. This is almost like a paramilitary organization, ICE. They took over from immigration and naturalization, which used to be responsible for the immigrant status of people that were in this country. But ICE has become something else. And they become a military organization. When you see people with masks on, no identification, and you wonder where the authority is. Where does this authority come from? It's coming from the top. And people are being warned about this, but it just seems to be sliding under the rug. Remember, we've got elections coming up. We have elections coming up, and it's important that we remember these things. Again, placing military in the civilian centers in cities and calling it law and order, they're protecting the citizens. Look, that's why we have police departments in the cities. We don't need national military in the cities. It escapes me, but for some reason I think there's a law against that. But I'm not sure of it. But I think there is. But there's something wrong with that, inherently wrong with it. Think about it. When is the last time, go back in memory, that you've seen military people carrying weapons and body protection marching down the streets of American cities? That's weird. I think the whole thing is weird. And again, going back and ridiculing the media. These are recognizable things. It happens again and again and again, ridiculing the media and also talking about the voting process, our voting process, ridiculing that and delegitimizing that. They've been proven wrong time and time again, but they still will not get up off of it. And, one of the things out of the playbook from the 30s is if you tell a lie enough, people believe it. They will believe it. It actually becomes their fact. So it has to stop. The lies have to stop. The news media has been trying to stop it. But for some reason, we have a problem in the public standing up for ourselves. Well, that's what I'm kind of trying to do today. So if anyone's looked at some of my previous podcasts, I was becoming weak. I was disillusioned. I was just disillusioned, thinking, you know what? I'm not making any fucking difference at all. Well, you know what? Maybe I'm not. Maybe I am not making any difference. But then I just said, fuck it. I'm sick of mamby-pambying and talking about this and that. While I still have some breath and I have the studio and the equipment, the wherewithal, and I have the ability, I'm going to get out there and tell people what I think. Because I've been around a little bit. I've been around. And I've seen the variance. I've seen the before, and now I'm seeing the after. And I want people to know that this is not the way it was. Now, politically in this country, we've always had problems. We've always had problems, but we've never had this kind of determination and purpose, I guess, in trying to change our democratic process. I've never seen it like this. I've seen fighting, and everybody disagrees. I mean, that's what democracy is. And then you negotiate a middle ground. These people don't want to negotiate. They want it their fucking way or the highway. Well, guess what? Take the highway, because we're not giving up yet. We're not giving up yet. We still have a voting process, and we're coming up on elections. So hopefully I can get this out and somebody will listen to it. If not, I'll keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it anyway. But trying to delegitimize the voting process in this country, you can stop right there. It's not going to happen. So, is Trump a fascist? Well, first of all, Trump is an autocrat and he's an authoritarian. But he has people behind him who would like to use the fascist playbook. Now, are they using it? Fucking A right they are. How do I know that? Because everything they're doing is specific. It's almost number one, do number two, do number three. That's not by accident. That's not by accident. These people know what they're doing. And they go by the playbook. They would rather be in complete control. And we're not smart enough to make decisions, okay? We're not smart enough to be making decisions. So they're going to do it for us. We'll forget you. All right? So what they're basically doing, in my mind, is using Trump's populism. He's a popular guy with I call him a Jerry Springer crowd. I don't know, it's like 35, 40% of this country that, are just, they're like down on the stage and everybody's just screaming and hollering and applauding. So that's the people that I think are for him. And the money people, the wealthy. They love him because of some of the things that he's doing that are influencing markets and incomes. They're making money. For certain people, they're making money. Can it last? I don't know. I don't know if it can last or not. I don't think so. It's been rocking and rolling, and I didn't have time this morning to look at actually what are the what are the values of these companies? Are they actually overpriced? I don't know. I'm going to get back with that because I have a feeling a lot of these companies are overpriced. But anyways, a lot of his policies don't affect the average American unless you've got a substantial amount in investments, of which most people in this country don't. Yeah, I think it's like maybe 15% of Americans have more than 100,000 in market investments. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. Most of America they just have modest investments, and they're very susceptible to big swings, up and down swings. So, but anyway, the large part of the far right is influenced by money and big money. I watched Jamie Dimon the other day, who is the CEO of J.P. Morgan, and I used to have a lot of respect for Jamie Dimon. Now, he will not take one side politically, right or left, or Democrat or Republican, but I know where his interests lie. I know where his favors are. And I was a little disappointed in listening to Jamie Dimon and some of the things he said, and I'm not going to get into those now. But economic programs that Trump uses are popular with them, and they're gaining a lot of wealth with what he is doing, as Trump and his family are. They're gaining a lot of wealth too. Legitimately, I guess that's the question. I personally don't think so. I've always said I think he's a grifter, and he's taken the presidency and making personal profits out of it, and for his family. And a lot of the people that are following him on his coattails are becoming wealthy because of it. But the middle class. I mean, they say the middle class is shrinking, and it is. But that the shrinking is being caused by movement out of the middle class into an upper class, movement higher up in a class. I disagree with some of that. I think some of it's moving down into a lower class. That remains to be seen. But yes, the middle class is shrinking, but they're putting some lipstick on it, saying there's a reason for that, and it's going up into upper classes that we're doing better. Well, perhaps some are. I don't know. But I kind of take issue with some of that. So I guess the real question is there still hope for success in the United States? Well, of course. It's still the best country in the world. It's becoming more and more difficult to live in, the angst and the anger we have because we feel like nobody's listening to us. But yes, that's the reason everybody wants to come here. That's the reason. And I understand all of the issues with immigration and the feelings people have, but I take you back to America of the 20s and 30s and 40s, and the feeling of great opportunity that people had coming here. And I just see what's happening now with ICE and the immigration issues going on in this country. And I don't like it. I don't like it. I have friends from south of the border, and I have had some friends from south of the border that are not here now, and I wish they were. I miss them. And I think it's the same with a lot of people in this country. I live in the Southwest, and I don't like what's going on. So, yes, America, I think there's still a lot of opportunity here, and we can't give up on it. We have to get out and vote in November. We have to get these Republicans out. Now, I'm going to say it again. I said it in many of my shows. I used to be a Republican. And I would have no problem being a Republican again. I don't care about Republicans or Democrats. I care about what's going on. We need a two-party system, but we don't need this two-party system. The Republicans that are sycophants for Trump and Stephen Miller, and they're people that what they want to do, and the judicial processes that they're trying to slide under the rug and push against the wall, and what they're doing to courts, that's not America to me. That's not America. So we need to get rid of this Republican Party and let them get some sensible people back in that we can vote for, that we can support, that we can have discussions with and collaborations with. They ain't happening with this crowd. It's not happening. The only thing they create is anger and real issues of difference. So I'm going to let it go with that and get off of this podcast. I'm going to do another one tomorrow. I might continue on with this particular subject because I really do want to talk more about it and get into the depth of what's going on with these individuals that think that they think that Trump is their one and only leader. They seem to forget that there's 340 million people in this country, and we're the boss. We're the boss. And the 30% or 40% that are standing behind Trump, like the Jerry Springer crowd or something, if that's what you want to support, fine, go for it. But there's another 60 or 70% out here that may not agree with you, and we may want to change. I know I do. I don't know who it's going to be yet, but it's got to be somebody. It's got to be somebody. We're not talking just about Trump. We're talking about every Republican that's in there has got to go. They have to have the fear in them that they're going to lose their power and their preferences that they have as congressmen and senators. You know, we got to get them out of there. They got to go back to their regular job. They got to go back to working at the convenience store or wherever the hell they came from. I don't know. But they got to get out of there. It's time. So with that, I'm going to let you go, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Thanks for watching.